Any discussion on anything? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Everybody had a chance to go through the claims.
Yes.
There's one thing I did have a question on. That's probably for Doug. I'll go on a welding machine, 15,000 for service.
Yeah, they had a truck in there. I'm assuming that's what it was.
Okay.
It sat there forever.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and,
Yeah.
in regards to our policy, I mean, it says 5,000, I know we talked about repairs, maybe not falling under that, but, this is for the claims.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think I
um,
mentioned it in the boardroom once.
I don't ever remember hearing it, cause,
Maybe he did it to me. I'd asked him about it. I know I did.
okay,
When I seen it sitting there for like 3 weeks.
This was done to what?
was on a truck.
Yeah, it was on the truck.
Trucks.
Yeah. They did some framework and changed some stuff on the snowplow and,
Sure.
I just thought it was odd that it was a very specific amount.
right, 10,000 on them.
On the dot.
Just 15,000 on the dot, yeah.
When he comes up, ask him.
Okay.
Okay, and
Uh,
there was,
oh.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what is the Iowa Homeland Security at the very bottom in the non-departmental for 61,000?
That's Chris's department.
Carissa?
Yeah.
No,
Homeland Security.
no, I asked Marge about that. It's a refund for FEMA work that did not get done, but we weren't paid for.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think it's from stuff in 18, but I think it's
It
a
is.
lot of projects in your area
Yeah.
that weren't completed, but
Well, we never
we
did
were-
them.
yeah,
They
they,
prepaid FEMA work and we never did it, so we had to send it back to Homeland Security.
Okay.
It was on.
We just didn't use the money
DD7,
or?
quite a bit of it.
okay, I know there was some on there, yeah.
Okay, we just didn't get the project, or we didn't start the projects
No,
to get them done, I guess, to use that money.
I
or-
guess I went and asked. It was quite a bit, few of the landowners if they wanted to go through with it because it wasn't gonna be totally funded and they didn't wanna go through with it. And it would have been something like Kyle did on that dredge on DD4 where they pulled the banks back.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
when,
they had
Gotcha.
no interest in pulling the banks way
sure,
back.
sure. So this was FEMA money that they gave us and we're now
We
refunding them this portion. Gotcha.
Right,
I just didn't know what it meant by Homeland Security there.
yeah.
yeah, that was unused money.
Okay.
On another piece of equipment for the secondary road department, unit 144, there was 8,400 in parts and 12,000 in labor.
What
So,
page are you on?
I don't know what page it was, I just wrote notes.
Look up in there.
I can find it here.
Don't have any idea.
For Reitzels?
No, engineer.
No, it's been on a maintainer or something.
Okay, well, that says new equipment. For 8,200.
That was in conservation.
Oh, you're talking in conservation.
No, I'm talking in engineer.
Okay.
It was under Ziegler, I believe.
Oh, page 24.
Yes, page 24, there was parts, supplies and repairs for 144 and then outside labor of 12. So we got another 20 grand in that piece of equipment. Do you know what that one was?
No.
We'll have to ask Doug when he.
Okay. And then on the transfer station, there was, how did it have it written?
There's Doug.
We can ask him here.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Carter, and ask Doug.
Morning, Doug.
Morning.
No, we had a question in regards to the.
Claims.
On the claims. The Ziegler. Repair for $8,395 and then labor for 12,000. Just wonder what was done. Or what was
Well, we
done.
had a loader. I don't know which particular machine right off the top of my head that is, but we've had to have a Ziegler do a lot of maintenance work right now. We are running a mechanic.
Right.
We've been doing that for about 2 years now. And we did have a loader that needed some work, and we had a maintainer that needed some work. So that's those two were,
One of those two.
yes.
Okay.
yeah, and it might be the other one you're talking about there. There was 8,400 in parts and 12,000 in labor on 144.
That'd be a maintainer.
Okay.
So
Do you know what happened with that, or do you remember?
we had a transmission and drivetrain that needed to be worked on.
Okay,
Then I had another question. So we had from Algona Welding Machine, there was a charge for 15,000 exactly.
Right, we have trucks, they have, their frame are dual channels. And pack rust is getting in between there, so Algona,
idea.
we've had Algona frame actually, repair those, put a new outside channel. That's what that is on one of the trucks.
Okay, I just don't know how they got exactly to 15.
Well, they've done about 3 of those repairs on us, for us, and they know what it takes, so that's what we agreed to.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion?
on the mileage that was submitted by Galen, I went through some of those meetings to verify, and there's at least one that was turned in for reimbursement and he was not at, so I guess should the whole claim be thrown out because it's not accurate, or what should we be doing with that
For
for reimbursement for mileage? I didn't check all of them, and it shouldn't be my responsibility to either, but
the $8.19. Or,
Times.
$98.28.
times all of them. I mean, there's total of 900. But I did not check all of them. For pretty much the entire calendar year of 22.
I can't tell if he was there or not there, so.
Well, minutes verify that. For the regular ones at least.
Action that he missed the meeting, but
I wasn't here all last year. I mean, I made a lot of them, but I wasn't at everyone either, so I don't know.
if you wanna disallow $8 and what,
I didn't check them all, but I know there's at least one that he was not at. And I don't know about the rest.
you wanna wanna disallow the whole claim, or what do you wanna do?
If it's not accurate, I think that's the only way it should be handled. Every one of mine that I turned in was questioned, but they were all accurate.
I would need a motion to disallow the claim in a second.
I would make a motion to disallow the claim for mileage from Gail and Casey for inaccuracy.
Now I need a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote, please.
Matt,
I asked, I need more information, I guess. Okay.
Wactor,
Yes.
Yes,
Dirk,
No,
Matt, do you wanna,
go back to now.
Can we take a look at it, I guess, next week and
We have to
Or
make
and vote
a
on it
decision
then.
one way or another, because we have a,
yes,
so we will disallow.
and if we could take a look at that next week.
Okay,
do you want me to call?
you're gonna have to call Galen.
On all the claims for him?
It would be all his. Yeah. Motion carried, 3-1. Now we'll go back to the rest of the claims. Do I have a motion to approve the rest of the claims?
so moved.
Motion by Stecker, second by
I'll second.
Wactor. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Rod, did you have something for public discussion?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, you were recording this
Correct.
meeting.
Yeah,
Why don't you, put some loudspeakers in so we can hear it at home? I didn't know nothing about it. You can hear it, but you have your volume turned way up on your computer and everything. And I thought it was something on my end, but it wasn't. Someone told me go on Kyle's page and you can hear it just fine. So
Well,
it's in your IT department.
well, the owls are out there so that you can hear the public.
Right, but you can't hear you guys, and so if you're trying to hide something, go in the garage like the gyms do, but. The second thing is. On a claim that was talked about here a couple months ago with the power washer. That was $11,000 claim,
hmm
5,000, how can it pass? An employee orders it, pass the department head and pass you guys. And you guys regulate $5,000.
Well, we don't regulate everything in the engineer's budget.
But what's the punishment for spending over $5,000 on a night?
We don't regulate everything in the engineer's budget. There's things that go over $5,000 in his budget that we do not pass weekly.
But you said in your minutes, you approved it this year again. Motion by Casey, second by Loss to approve the spending limit for any one item of $5,000 for elected officials and department heads.
Correct.
Prior authorization from the board of supervisors will be needed if the dollar amount is above 5,000. Motion carried unanimously.
Right.
So
But if it's in the budget and it's been done in the budget, you don't okay everything that's done for
did you
depot
put
fuel.
the pressure washer when you did the budgets? That's what you're saying, right? It's in the budget.
That was my,
everyone else has a budget too, but they still come for items over 5.
Yeah,
Let it alone, it's not even hooked up, it's not even used. You bought it, paid for it November 1st. What happened to the old one?
I don't know, have to ask Doug.
You wanna speak about it, Doug? It's a quarter out of my pocket because I'm a taxpayer.
Board have questions.
No,
Doug, is it hooked up or is it in use right now?
We are waiting to go through the roof. We have a subcontractor that needs to go and vet it through the roof and then be operating.
So on top of the $11,000 bill, you got that bill too. The one you have to have an LP line and LP tank. The old one that's a diesel fired.
Yeah, there was a new LP tank and stuff previously as well.
It's a new tank, that's $4,000 probably. So you're
Couple
probably talking at least $20,000 that you spent. That's just one item. On the other items that aren't budgeted, that you say are.
Doug, what did happen with the old pressure washer? What was this replacing?
This will be, our old pressure washer is used a lot. And we're getting to the point where we need one anyway, so we thought we would get it hooked up to LP so that we would have enough fuel to run it. Instead of having to continue to put in a gallon of diesel, it's fine. It's just for our mechanics. They wash all the equipment prior to any mechanic work going on. So I approve of it, care of it, and it will be operational and will be used. We have been rotating our pressure washers. We have pressure washers out there that are going on 30 years old. Have been replacing them.
What happens with the old ones?
We trade them in.
Trade them in?
Yeah.
Did that happen on this case or? Did you
Not
trade?
yet. We will, we're gonna rotate this to another shop, the one that was at the mechanic shop. One of the outline shops.
Each shop has a pressure washer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But at diesel fuel, you only just add a gallon. I got a pressure washer, it holds 10 or 6 gallons. It's idea, you're spending over the, either you put a punishment in it or else throw the whole deal out. You're not following it. Like me getting a traffic fine, charge a dime with it, same difference.
With our policy on that, I guess, is there, for repairs is different than new purchases, correct? Or how does that worded, I guess, in our policy as far as that $5,000 limit, does that include, say, okay, we just approved $15,000 to, I'll go to Welling for repairing, that is different than going and purchasing a new power washer. Is there a difference between those two in the language of the policy?
I don't believe so. I will try, I'm pulling up the minutes here to try and find the exact wording. Says spending limit for any one item of $5,000 for elected officials and department heads. Prior authorization from the board will be needed if the dollar amount is above 5,000.
That's 5,000 for one item. I guess that 15,000, what you were asking, that's several items being serviced. Is that correct?
again. I am the county engineer. You guys approve my budget. If every time we're supposed to spend $5,000, I am supposed to come to the Board of Supervisors, I would request that you meet every day and put on the agenda that we are going to approve a purchase. Otherwise, what's gonna happen, we'll have a breakdown this afternoon. If I am supposed to wait, that means next Tuesday, you will approve it, it will get fixed, it'll be out for 2 weeks. Please take that into consideration.
I'm taking that into consideration.
And
The
also
15
consider, the county engineer is in charge of the maintenance and construction of the roads and the road equipment. And I have responsibilities to do. If every purchase, there's ambiguity in that statement. I don't know what it means. I've asked. If every statement, if every $5,000 expenditure, sometimes if there's a mechanic, if I have to send a machine over to some repair shop, I don't know what all is gonna happen. Do you want me to get an estimate or do you want me to get it repaired?
No,
That's
wait,
fair
wait, wait, what I'm saying is that $15,000 is several different things. That's not one item like that was saying. So I'm fine with the 15,000 because that's, you know, several items that are being taken care of. But the one item being that pressure washer was over 5,000. Was that something that was planned?
If we would have a heating system go down in a shop, one item, and it would cost $7,000. What do you expect me to do? Do you want me to come to the board and ask if we need to replace a heating system?
No, because
We
that would
have
fall
a
under.
pressure washer. We replaced it with a new system.
Ain't usable yet, it's 3 months out.
Rod,
That one, you probably had to order it 2 months before, because I know they don't have them on hand.
Doug, I don't know if we have to have every single repair on the agenda to be approved, but I think when it gets to a point where the repair is substantial, we should be making a decision whether that money is better spent going into repairing old equipment or purchasing new, and I think that's a conversation that should be had in the boardroom. But besides that, if a piece of equipment is sent over to a shop and there is something that's an emergency that's needed, I don't know that anyone would have an issue with getting equipment repaired. Especially in emergency situations, that's not something we need a daily board meeting for. But knowing about it would also be advantageous before we see a 15 or 20,000 or $50,000 bill, so.
Or if it's at least possible, if there's, you know, a bill that's that large, if you can kind of see it a little bit broken down of what all went into it to get to that 15,000. Does that make sense? I mean, is that fair? That we want to see, you know, not just one line item that's 15,000 and then it just shows service repairs, you know. It would be nice to, you know, maybe see something attached possibly from the vendor that, you know, did the repairs of what all was completed. So we can kind of, you know, just look at that, and make sure that it's fine that, you know, it got to be that much.
I don't know if the language itself is fair to Doug in itself, you know, as far as,
It's not very clear.
as far as, maybe that's something we need to look at, being that his department does operate differently with larger numbers than most of the other departments. Maybe, I think, maybe that's something we need to look at and at that language there, and
you wanna put something on the agenda for 2 weeks? Yeah, we'll get done with some of the other stuff first.
yeah.
And we're gonna readdress that, and let's think about how that should be worded.
I know in some cases, where situations like this come up within the service, they look at the policy, and then those that are in charge take a look and add an exception to that policy and identify what those exceptions or circumstances are in general terms that would warrant such as what Doug was referring to. That might help the policy.
We're
That's
not,
exactly what I'm thinking, Dan. Yeah.
we don't wanna stop the service to the public.
No,
You're
no.
defeating the
And,
purpose.
and Doug, like you were saying with like that heating thing, you said you had to go out and purchase a new one to replace it. I would look at that more as a repair, because something broke, you need to get it working again. If that requires purchasing a new item to get that working again, I personally, I don't know what you guys think, but I would consider that a repair.
We can discuss that, in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks. And
It's not an actual policy. So if you want
Okay.
an actual policy, it don't have to be written up. It's just something that's approved every year.
Well, maybe we should do that then.
We'll take a look at it.
We'll go back, we'll readdress it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Monthly veterans.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was tracking lastly at about 1,115 records. I'm probably slightly more than that. Trying to get an answer from my vendor on some of that because that was one of the additions I was seeking out for my software program that they were going to approve. So, I had 45 calls and 56 messages. Did 24 VA healthcare enrollments into the C box in December. Had 27 walk-ins, 18 appointments. Currently looking at 37 claims that are open in the VA system. I've got 10 over in my office pending development. And I've got about 12 ready for decision, meaning VA just has to finalize the paperwork. Continuing to work with the PACT Act claims. That has been great cause for increase in some of the other veteran groups that previously were not eligible to file for benefits, who now are, because they've expanded the territories. I'll be heading off to Des Moines this morning to meet with our state association president and executive board. We have a state association meeting today. We're meeting overnight in Des Moines, and then hopefully, weather permitting, I'll be able to go down to the legislative committee activities with veterans down at the state capitol. So I'm working on some of that. Hamilton County hired a new veteran service officer, so I'm working with our district president as to scheduling a training date to go meet the young man and do some initial core training with him on VSO subject matter. Continuing to work the quarterly report for you. I understand that'll probably be coming up in the next week or so, couple of weeks, whatever. Got an increased claims with Thailand vets. That's one of the other areas that had picked up with the PACT Act as well as Agent Orange. Working on burial claims and DIC claims. We had a number of veterans that passed away, unfortunately, so trying to get caught up on that as well. Some of the legislation that is being developed down at the state capitol that's veteran centric that hopefully I'll be able to get to meet with some folks on. There's a House File 37, which is this disabled veterans homestead tax credit that's being developed and looked at. There's a House File 20 that deals with commissions of Veterans Affairs training. So I kind of want to see what that's all about. There's another House File 21. That's more particular toward the commission of the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs and how they handle the funding with respect to that commission. There is House File 22, which is a bill that talks about the military service property tax exemption credit and provisions. If I understand that, currently the military tax exemption is unique insofar as veterans who are rated at 100%. What the legislative committee is trying to do is graduate other service-connected disabled veterans at other disability percentages to be included in that. The problem that you're gonna have with that is, one, you're gonna drive the assessors crazy, okay? But a veteran who might be rated at a certain disability may not stay that way for 6 months, 5 years, 10, it changes. It kind of depends, because some of the ratings of veterans are initial until they're finalized, so they're rated at 1% until they determine the overall. Some may have been rated, say, 40% for 5 years. Conditions worsened. They reapplied for an increase. They went from 40 to 80. So not really sure how that's gonna go, but that's one of the things I kind of want to take a look at. There's a Senate file out there, regarding Iowa Finance Authority for home ownership for eligible debts. A couple other Senate files, they're looking for a lifetime hunting and fishing license for certain disabled veterans. Senate file 59, a distinguished service medal registration for plates. I guess that's one they must have missed along the way. And then, Senate file 79, lifetime trapping license for disabled veterans. So there's some things out there I kind of want to be updated on and see what, how well that's gonna go this legislative session. So that's kind of where we're at, other than continuing to work some claims and whatnot, subject to your questions. That's all I got.
I had a quick question. You were talking about the lifetime hunting and fishing for vets. Isn't that already a thing?
I don't know how they're looking to expand that.
Okay,
I
was gonna say, 'cause I've got.
There is, I know that there is, hunting and fishing exemption piece of that for disabled veterans, so I don't know how that ties in. Maybe they're just updating the overall bill to correct the language.
Okay.
I really don't know yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause that's already in place, cause I've got
I took
my,
advantage of that.
yep, I did too.
And, you know, other than maybe just getting a stamp here and there, it's
Gotcha.
kind of a nice feature to have, so.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Yep.
Liquor license for Bottom Up Club LLC.
Bottom of the cup.
Where is bottom of the cup?
Yeah.
It's at the golf simulators, I would miss.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
This is the one that didn't go through last week.
Yeah, because the zoning wasn't correct, work with Doug and it is correct now.
Okay. So I would move to approve the liquor license for Bottom of the Cup LLC. I have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Wactor. Any discussion? Hearing none, do a roll call vote.
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Brady.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Doug, question, are you short someone on the zoning board or committee? Do you need somebody?
We have 3 members on the planning and zoning commission, 4 members,
CASC is.
4 members on the board of adjustment.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was asked, do you need another member, were you looking for another member of the zoning board or?
Both of those boards should have 5 members.
Okay. I have someone that might be interested in being on he approached me and.
Well, it would be the board of supervisors responsibilities to all that.
Right.
So
So-
there are. I don't, Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some gender rules
Okay,
when board supervisors appoint board members, and I'm not sure
When it's
those
possible,
gender rules.
supposed to be equal as much as possible.
Right now, we have 3 males on the planning and zoning commission, 3 males and 1 female on the, board of adjustment.
sure. I had a male approach me about. it.
Well, the other thing is, I'm sure there are exceptions that.
Since it's been open for so
If you
long.
cannot meet
Yeah.
that,
Right,
the most important thing is to have the board and be able to get quorums, which with the planning and zoning commission is very difficult because we have to have all 3 there.
right.
Can, you bring the name next week and
Yeah.
put it on the agenda.
Yep.
You'll have
And
to
if
give
they
it
would
to.
like,
give it to
I'll
Tom.
certainly visit with them and let,
Yeah.
if they wanna have some questions about.
I'll call him today.
You call him, have him talk to Doug, and if he
Yep.
agrees, then put his name on the agenda.
I can do that, yeah.
Yep.
Everybody had a chance to look at the transfers.
Yep.
Any questions on the transfers? Let the record show that we acknowledge the transfers. Next thing on the agenda is a right to use lease asset policy by resolution for GASB 87. Everybody understand that?
Is this, I guess, is this basically just, our agreements with those leasing ground and anything else from,
Has to come before the board.
sure,
Mm.
okay,
That's really what it says.
okay.
There's just no major
And there-
adjustments or anything to it. It's all pretty much the
It's,
same.
it's
so.
something that the federal government put in 2 years ago.
This, a lot of this is for the auditing side of things, right? Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
I suggest that you put it at $5,000 and we'll keep that. With any asset above $5,000 has to come. We don't wanna
Does
go
it,
through.
does
every
it have a
copy or-
dollar amount in
No.
here?
It does in a second. We should have two packets, one that's a sample from the state and the other one that has our name on top of it with the dollar.
I suggest you put it at 5,000. That's what we got in there. Cause we're not gonna go through the auditor with every
Right.
printer and copier that we have in the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve it and at a $5,000.
I have a motion
I'll
by Lang,
second.
second by Stecker. Any discussion on it? Hearing. Please say aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Motion approved. Signature other than yours on that?
Yeah.
oh, do we have to have a
No, we don't.
resolution here? Okay.
Just,
It's up to each county,
okay.
but I can have it just that.
I don't think you need to, I think it was signed up, if it was voted on by the board, it will be in the minutes. I think that's fine.
Yeah, the minutes should cover it.
Yeah,
They'll be able to verify it.
yep. Now, we are up to inclement weather policy, section 1.15 of the handbook, and any updates.
Is Donna coming over or do we need to call her?
You're gonna have to call her.
500.
Nick and Doug, yeah. That's the reason
Hey,
you're
this
here.
is Kyle. We are up to the, policy stuff on the agenda. Thanks. Bye.
I think there was quite a bit of discussion at the department head meeting.
Yeah, there was. Do we need to call anyone else?
I don't know if you want to call Todd and see if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say Todd had some pretty good
Yeah.
Yeah,
opinions on it, so.
Tammy, do you know his number off the top of your head? That's right. I should. Hey Todd, it's Kyle. Do you want to come up for the policy on weather on the agenda? Okay, perfect. Bye.
yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I tried Karen, but she didn't answer.
She's not gonna be able to make it. She's.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Hey, did you want to come in for the policy stuff? Yep, he just said that after I got. Okay, sounds good. Bye. It's in our,
I think everybody's here that
Packet
wants to
too, if you
be
want it.
included.
you scroll up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Donna. As of now, we have nothing in the handbook about closing the courthouse.
Yeah,
Right, but I mean, for having the courthouse open and having people that can't make it because of roads getting paid, and then the people that are working getting comp time. We,
This page in our packet, it is currently in the handbook. It's right here.
mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it does say, because Kossuth County serves citizens of the county, county offices will always remain open during normal business hours. However, in case of severe weather, the following may be followed. And it says if they're unable to get to work, they'll be allowed to charge vacation, comp time, or personal time if they have it, which we don't have personal time, so don't know where that came in. So
Well,
it does have stuff on,
B is what happened,
right,
yeah,
on the 23rd.
But the day in question is the next day when
right. It's the
we
24th.
made the decision.
Sure.
If they were unable to make it, they would get paid for it, which. And maybe it's just an interpretation issue. I think there's a difference between an employee deciding they can get.
Not through a word you're saying.
I think there's a difference between an employee deciding they can get to work or not, and the department head saying, if you can't make it to work. And I don't know, maybe that's just an interpretation. So I think that's basically what happened that Friday was, I had called Roger and Roger had said, you know, if they can make it, fine, if they can't, they'll still get paid for the day, so we weren't leaving it up necessarily up to the employee. It was, the employee wasn't making that decision necessarily. But I don't know, Todd, you probably understand this much better.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation which came up that from the directive from the board or the board chair that you know, if the employees can't get there, don't, and those that can come, instead of the employee making that decision. And I think that's, to me, a critical difference.
It is.
That's
In
what
my
I was
opinion.
thinking too.
Which doesn't fit within that paragraph that you read.
Right. So we'd have to add another inclement weather directive to our policy.
I mean, what was the alternative?
Close courthouse.
Well,
Yeah,
that,
just-
or in that situation where, you know, you could say, well, if you can make it, you get paid. Those that can't make it, don't. the option you have. for which to-
They have the option to take vacation or comp time as well. That's the first paragraph under the policy.
Sure. But that, not under this situation. That's if they make that decision on their own, right?
Well, yeah, that's what's in the policy.
Yeah, it's still under A. If an employee is unable to get to work, they will be allowed to charge such an absence to vacation, comp time, or personal time. Provided that they have the time accumulated. So if they're not able to make it and they have that time there, they can charge to that to get paid for that day. If they don't have that time there, then they would just basically take it as an unpaid day off.
Correct. Under situations where they make that decision, the decision was that they'll get paid, whether they can make it or not. That's what the decision was.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And they predicted 80-mile-an-hour winds and snow and whiteouts, and we have people that drive too far to come in. We do. There's a safety issue here,
Well, we
but
have
I
Orange
think,
County.
I think there's a safety issue that precedes some of the things that we have in the handbooks.
Well, and the reason we have two items here is, when I was in last week, Melissa had asked me about the language of how Donna had it written up, and I didn't know if that was specific enough for the day in question, and I thought it was the 23rd, that,
No,
because the 24th is a Saturday.
was it?
Is it-
Thursday and Friday was the 22nd.
Yes.
21st.
Twenty-first was closed. And 22nd was the.
Day in question.
Close at 11 o'clock.
The 22nd was the day in question.
The 22nd we closed at 11.
Okay,
Okay, so it should have been the 22nd then, but when we were talking about it last week, Jack's point was that by,
oh, Kyle, that's 2023.
Yeah, oh,
We
No,
were.
I'm looking-
No, he's looking at
I'm
the
looking at
December.
the bottom.
Oh, I got it, okay.
Yeah.
because the 24th would have been a Saturday,
Yep,
This would have been Friday,
so it would be, the 23rd.
yeah, you're right, you're right.
Okay,
because we closed it on Thursday.
Yep,
yeah, so the 23rd is the right date then.
Yeah.
But Jack's point, which he said he would say it then because he wasn't gonna be here on vacation and stuff, but his point was employees should not be getting double compensated for that. If they were in here working and getting paid, they shouldn't also be getting comp time. And I don't know how that applies with labor laws or anything that way. That's not in my wheelhouse, but he was very concerned about that.
I can't answer that. I mean, and I'm not. I don't know that the circumstances come up.
So that, I don't remember that we had a voluntary, if you can make it, come into work, and if you're a long ways away, don't come in, that we've ever done that before. That I've been around.
Well, and maybe to that point, it's not really an option in our policy, so I don't know why that was decided.
Cause we sent people home the day before, and I was worried that they weren't gonna make it home. That was part of it, is why we made that decision, cause they left in a strong wind. Or
Yeah,
we canceled, okay,
that was close.
that's right. But there's some people we sent home at 11 o'clock, right? That I remember.
First day, the courthouse was closed, and we knew that.
Yeah, the second day,
Second day, it was closed at 11,
right, we sent them home at 11,
yeah, and closed the courthouse.
yeah. And some of them stayed and worked or didn't,
Not in my office.
okay,
Well, you can't make them come into work, can they? in a weather situation like that, you cannot say you're here.
No, they're not forced to come in, but they would have to take time off.
If they don't show up for work, why would they wanna get paid?
I've always left it in my office. I'm not gonna make that decision for the employee.
Right.
If they feel they should go home, they go home when they need to. But they're more than willing to take vacation time for it. It's, you know, people when we hire them or when they come from a distance, they realize they may not be able to make some of those days. So,
See, the unfortunate thing is we're blurring the issues here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not even talking apples to apples, you're talking apples to oranges. You know, had that directive been that if you can't make it, you'll take vacation or personal time,
Correct.
then that's a different story. Now you're talking about the language of the handbook.
But that is,
But when it's, if you'll still get paid if you can't come, put yourself in the shoes of the person who's there working. All right? Any one of you, would you be happy? Others are getting paid the same amount that you are, but you're actually there doing work.
But here's the thing, those people that are staying home because of the weather, they're taking that out of their vacation time.
No,
No,
they were told they were not.
oh, so this instance, they were not, okay,
Situation that I don't think I've ever been in 21 years that I've been doing
Okay.
this here has ever come up.
Right.
You have that, which, that was the directive that we all operated under, so I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of fairness. You know, and everybody wants to blur, well, this is what the handbook, it was not covered by the handbook. So you have employees who are here that can make it safely, employees who couldn't, but the decision was already made that they were going to get paid whether they came or not. So that's why when I was talking at the department head meeting, that, well, those that were in town that came should not be in any way disadvantaged because they could make it safely because they live in Algona, but yet they were working. And the ones who weren't were still getting paid. So that was the whole idea of it. And like I said, in 21 years, I think this is the only time that's ever, it's either closed or it's not.
Right.
And I think we've closed it maybe a handful of times at most. So, you know, maybe the policy, looking at it from the standpoint, is either the courthouse is closed or it's not. You know, I don't know, you know, and then everything else is a discretionary call. Then I'm fine with that. The handbook covers it perfectly. We don't have to make a new policy for it. But it was just this limited situation that causes a different, a different way to approach it, in my opinion. And, you know, I'll abide by what you come up with, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, make a statement.
No. No, you're not involved in this right now.
I'm just gonna say, when it goes to work, it's her call too. I say stay home, she takes vacation pay or you don't get paid.
And that's the way our policy is. And I think that's fair. I mean, I don't see any need to change it, but.
Well, and that's one of the reasons to have it on the agenda today is we need to make a decision so everyone's doing the same thing, no matter what that is. Everyone should be treated fairly across the courthouse system, but then you also have secondary roads department that worked during the storm and they have a separate agreement, so some of that is in there as well, but the situation requires some sort of decision in that regard.
There's no black and white when it comes to weather is my problem.
Yeah, I'm okay with whatever. I'm just looking at it to explain the situation that was presented to me in my office. It was not per the handbook because, you know, those that couldn't make it were already told they were going to get it.
and that's not following the handbook. So I think the gist of this is that we need to make sure that the handbook,
So
I
you're,
don't disagree.
so we're gonna close the courthouse off and everything. My point is, it's nice to have it open for somebody in out.
No, because it goes back to A. If an employee is unable to get to work, they have the option to stay home and take that vacation or comp time.
And I think at the very beginning, it says, the first two sentences is Kossuth County serves the citizens of the county. The offices will remain open during normal business hours, except severe cases. And we can talk about whether it was severe or not, but there's always gonna be people that question it. You look at schools deciding to close or stay open. They're criticized both directions. It is what it is, but I think our policy lays out a framework for prioritizing staying open, and I would suggest keeping it that way. There is options under there if you do make that personal decision that you don't want to go to work. I know employees here have.
So you are recommending no changes to the handbook?
No changes, it be followed more closely than.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm a little fuzzy on the getting paid double time. I mean, as far as, so if I was an employee, lived in Algona, I came in, but the guy from Ledyard didn't, then was I getting paid? I guess to come in as well as
The comp time.
the statement that I would get comp time for that.
The statement about comp time was not
Not
included when everyone was informed, right?
right.
Not in text that.
It was just that they were guaranteed to get paid either way. So the comp time was a piece of the discussion from the department head meeting. And there's variations on how different department heads were treating that situation. So that's why I came here. So we need to, and my interpretation is we need to make a decision so that everyone is treated equally that way. Because currently, right now, they may not be in the same situation.
Well, let me ask you, secondary roads on vacation, if it's a holiday, and they have to go out on holiday because of weather, do they get paid time and a half?
And their standard holiday, yes.
So they get both?
Correct.
Okay. So if they're working when no one else is working, they're getting paid?
And that's part of their contract.
Right. So
That's a fair labor.
they're getting paid, yeah, they're getting paid extra for those times.
As it should be, I mean, that's.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not denying that at all. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just trying to kind of put something into context because this is just a strange
Yep.
situation in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is that the handbook just needs to be followed and should not just be left open for interpretation by the department heads. It's the handbook, it's there for everybody, and it should be followed that way.
So-
Are you saying I didn't follow the handbook?
I'm not sure of the entire situation because I wasn't on board at the time. I'm just saying, going forward, that it should follow the handbook. It lays it out pretty clearly that if the weather is too bad and someone doesn't feel safe driving into work, they would stay home. They have the option to take vacation or comp time. If it's bad enough to the point where we don't want anybody trying to come in, we close it and then everybody gets paid. There's no in between.
That's fine with me as long as that's the way it is going forward, because that's not the way it was on the 23rd.
And that's where I think we need to separate out the individual situation, which we should make a decision on so that Melissa knows how to do payroll here today. And the overall policy. So I think I'm not hearing any changes from the board on the policy side.
Nope.
So if we go to the next one, the actual situation, I guess we need to have a decision one way or another on whether they're getting comp time or not. in addition to being paid.
Well, we sent everybody home at 11 o'clock.
So it would
We
just be,
closed the
it would
courthouse.
just be the first 3 hours in
Right.
question.
Cause it got bad.
I
Yeah.
would say pay it because they were told that they were gonna get paid for that, and we can't just turn around and take that money away from them.
Well, you wouldn't be taking anything away.
We closed the courthouse
would-
in the end.
Yeah,
They were all told they were getting paid, so they'll get paid either way. But the comp time would be additional on top of what they were told potentially. So that's the decision.
So your decision is not to pay the comp time, is what you're telling me.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what we need to make a decision about.
is whether or
So
not.
that everyone is treated fairly.
Okay,
Either pay everyone
Everyone's,
as if the courthouse was closed.
everyone's getting paid,
Right,
period.
right.
Yeah.
But it's the 3 hours in the morning, whether they get comp time for those that showed up.
Right.
Just the additional. And I don't disagree with what you said, Todd, as far as they were working, others were not and still getting paid. It was definitely a situation that was not covered by the handbook. So I don't disagree with your perspective on that. That's the decision we need to make so that Melissa can do payroll.
Todd, you remember, I don't know that, do you remember ever that we closed the courthouse at 11 o'clock and sent everybody home?
Oh, yeah, we've
We've
done,
done
it. We've done that, when weather comes up in the
Yeah.
middle, but, you know, that goes home.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've ever had, if memory serves me correctly, I'll be, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you know, it's been a long time, but I don't think we've ever had a situation where that directive has come down. It's either closed or it isn't. You know, but like I said, you know, we rarely closed it. Maybe a half dozen times, I don't know, but,
Do we know how many employees were here? Like head count, who was here that day?
I had two.
It's,
Good one.
I think I had 6 here,
Here's 10.
5. I had 5.
But then again, me as the department head, do I earn comp time? I don't normally earn comp time, so.
you can't,
Yeah. You just mentally take it.
So our only decision on this then is to decide whether it's legal to pay comp time for 3 hours.
Yep.
That's my.
And I mean, we don't know if it's legal or if there's any issues that way. Cause I don't know the answer to that.
Well, you can disallow the comp time if you want to.
I know we can do that, but can we legally allow it?
I don't know that. So if you disallow it, then you won't have that question.
I don't like doing that because like I said, I agree with Todd's point. The people that were here working were already told they were gonna get paid and they still showed up, so they should be compensated in some form for their efforts and the work they did perform above and beyond those that stayed home. But I don't know if it's legal either.
Well, somebody has to make a decision.
At the same time, that was also that employee's decision to come in from wherever they are. I mean,
True.
you, like Judy said, I mean, if I was driving from north of Lakota to come to work, I already have that understanding that I'm working in Algona and I have that risk because I have a longer drive versus, you know, someone here in town
Yeah.
just driving down the street, but I don't know.
What's your preference?
Have to make a decision one way or the other.
I know Jack was very against paying comp time last week.
think the goal is just to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Right, but we also
And-
need to
and that we
cover
have-
ourselves
Right.
for,
Right.
you know,
So,
Yeah, and my biggest thing would be making sure everyone's treated fair across the courthouse and stuff. As this situation is handled, because if one department head gives comp time and the other doesn't, then you have employees that did the same thing and don't get treated the same. So that's my biggest concern right now. And the way that affects payroll is why we have to have a decision today. So I guess I would make a motion to pay the comp time for the 3 hours in the morning for those that showed up. But also, I don't know if it should be in the minutes or not, but the understanding that this probably won't be repeated again.
I don't know that you can put that in the minutes, and you have to go back to the handbook.
Yeah, I think that would.
So you just have to pay the comp time amount, it's the only motion that we can.
Yeah, yeah, I just, for point of discussion, again, that's my feelings. But I would say we should pay it to be fair to everyone. So then, if anyone, if this would, whatever the decision that's made is final, everyone should review their time cards or whatever for employees and adjust accordingly. Before it's paid today.
Do I have a second to Kyle's motion?
I'll make that second.
Second by Wactor. Any more discussion? Before we put this to bed. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed,
No,
unopposed. Motion carried, 3-1. Thank you.
And nobody wants changes to the handbook, right?
No,
No,
there's no
no,
changes to
there's
the
no
handbook.
So,
That,
just
that,
have no
no action
decision.
was
I
taken.
just put
Okay.
Yeah. What's your pleasure? You wanna let Doug get done before we take a break? How's
yeah,
everybody?
let's do that.
Okay. Doug, we're up to construction in the right of way.
Yes, good morning. There were no requests for construction in Northern Ireland this week.
Anything on zoning?
The Board of Adjustment met yesterday afternoon. We did take care of, the special use permit, loan special use permit. We will be doing some work with the zoning commission as far as the ordinance, work on that. I need to visit, with one of the members to get a time that all three of them will be able to meet. Scheduled to do that on January 30 is when I'm going to talk with all the board, all of the commission members to verify that we can have, we'll get it advertised, probably have that in February.
the meeting, the zoning meeting will be in February, the open hearing.
That would be a hearing, yes, that
In
would be in February, and then
Okay,
shortly after, they need to make a decision on sending, their recommendation to the board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors take it from there.
Sounds good.
Beans, we're on that subject. Did anybody else have a chance to read all the Iowa Utilities Board discussion?
And there's portions of it.
yeah,
I did
I
not
kinda,
recall that.
there was a lot there,
I
so.
read most of it and I came to this conclusion that actually the federal government has a say on the safety of the
Mhm.
pipeline and not the state. And the only power the state have would be to have a moratorium on it for a year, like California.
And that goes to one of my points with the ordinance and stuff. If we try and regulate that, the upper levels of government already have regulations in place, whether it's state or federal, and more of it could probably be on the federal side. But we can't over-regulate upper levels of government.
Oh.
Unless they allow us to. Like the ATV stuff with the state, they say we can go above and beyond in certain things, but it's limited.
So at some point, I think we should have a conversation with Mr. Whipple on whether we are going to fight something that's impossible to win, because it's the federal regulations that approves the safety of the trout line, not the state.
And I believe if the federal, and I could be wrong here, but I believe if the federal safety standards are changed, they have to conform to them, even for existing lines. Whether there'd be section that needs to be moved or upgraded or more valves put in place or whatever, I believe they have to conform to the current stuff, even if the rules change after they're in place. Cause I know I heard that comment from people that they're just trying to get in before the new rules are out, and I think that's immaterial for the discussion. Doug?
Mr. Whipple's gonna agree with those statements. But you still have, I think the argument is that counties still have the duty, if they have zoning, to protect and with setbacks and land use. And they have the right to do that. I think you bring up a very valid and good point. One thing Mr. Whipple told me is as soon as this ordinance, if it would pass, it's gonna go to federal court. That's where Summit is going with the counties that have ordinances.
Mhm.
And to be honest with you, that's a little concerning. If you're gonna create an ordinance and all you're gonna do is go to court, that means you're gonna spend a lot of money.
Right.
And it's gonna add up fast.
And so, I'm not saying what should be done, what should not be done, but it is the land use and the public safety that they're taking care of with the plan. So
I think we still have decisions to make on this.
I would agree with
You do.
that.
But a valid question might be, would it be better to wait till after? I think Story County, Shelby County, not so sure Butler, there's been a few counties that are in federal court
Right.
right now.
Well, on the
Would
utility,
it be,
Yeah.
would it be better off for Kossuth County to see how those turn out, or whether you should be part of it so that if it is valid, it'll be valid right away?
but wouldn't, if it was valid, it'd be valid for the whole state, wouldn't it be?
No,
You're asking, those are legal
I don't know.
questions, I don't know.
not
Yeah,
for
yeah, all
county
of a
by
sudden.
county ordinances. I
No.
don't believe so.
I don't know, Roger,
It would be
certainly is a
like
question that could be asked.
like the ATV ordinance where people complain they'd cross county lines and have a different set of rules and all that. I think the pipelines would complain of the same thing, but that's immaterial as well. But I think they would have, if those ordinances were valid whatever counties they were passed in, I would imagine they would have to abide by those set of rules in those locations, but everyone else that doesn't have those rules would not. It wouldn't apply to them because they're not on the books. So I don't think it would apply statewide.
Don't know. How can you have it safer in one place than another?
Yeah. No easy answer.
No,
Right.
it's all up to utilities board at the present time. If they make a decision, then we'll know more.
Yeah.
Anything else, Doug?
With the road department, the Irvington Bridge, We did not get in there to do any work. The contractor's still doing work. And after they are finished, then we will be able to go in and do our work. So I hope that this week they get some more work done and get in there, of course, with the forecast. We still have a mechanic position open, and I'm going to start advertising again, trying to get some interest in that.
Is that in the Titanca?
No, that's.
No,
No,
that's
it's
shop here, north. side,
Oh,
no.
okay, okay.
I will be putting advertisements in papers, I'll go on a reminder, which gets to every mailbox in the county. We put it on the radio, and we also put it on Iowa Workforce Development.
Do you put it on Indeed?
Pardon me,
Indeed?
we do not use any kind of services like that. Cylinder, farm, cylinder pit, we are advertising for that lease. The gentleman who had the lease is no longer interested in farming it. We have that in the reminder week and the 3 newspapers that are official. And I can't remember what it's called in Palo Alto County, but Palo Alto County has some sort of a reminder. This farm is in Palo Alto County, so we're advertising it there as well. Collective bargaining, we have that on June 25 at 1 o'clock. And I don't know if Renee gave.
January.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you say June?
I'm sorry, it's January.
Couple
take
months.
No, sorry.
That's okay.
But here is what Renee
Thank you.
emailed to me as far as a initial bargaining.
Thanks, Doug.
I believe you have received
Right, we have
The-
received the offer.
the offer from the road department. So if everyone is comfortable with this, Renee will present that to the secondary road bargaining unit on January 25.
Wednesday.
That is a Wednesday at 1 o'clock, yes. Road condition, we did have a couple of places where some water actually went over some gravel roads. They couldn't, ditches were full, cross pipes, were blocked. We had to go out and open up a couple of places. No damage or anything like that. Everything was froze up, fortunately. However, gravel roads yesterday, the top of them did, get a little bit loose. So we are in the process. You gotta just let Mother Nature take its course.
I think
That's
it's frozen
no-
again.
We'll have
They got
snow
a crust
here.
this morning. Not a hard crust, but it was.
It was froze.
Members of the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment. Yeah, if you guys have people there, if you please would let me know about it. Health insurance, we should be getting our rates soon, so Karen will be coming up to visit about those rates. One thing that we need to talk about is stop loss for $35,000. There just are a lot more individuals that are covered by our health insurance that cost $35,000. So when we pay them for that, they're taking that into consideration what that projection is. We need to really look to see whether we want to take some of that risk by raising that stop loss. So we will be talking about that as well. And then, Kossuth Waste Management Association, I'll be, getting a, meeting put together for that. Do you know who the board's representatives on Kossuth Waste Management Association are? Or did you point those?
Yeah, we did, but it's.
Yeah.
I ain't got it with me.
Is that on the first
Yeah.
meeting? of-
Yeah. It'd
I
be the
will read
minutes,
that.
minutes from that meeting.
I will look at that. Just to make sure when I make an invite that everyone is,
Tammy, have you let the other committees know for the updates and stuff? Or anything for, especially for the new members?
No, I didn't. There's the ones that asked.
Okay. Probably should get something sent out to all of them, cause I've been asked by a couple and I've answered those questions, but some of the other ones, if they haven't asked yet, they might not be getting, information yet from those committees they're on, potentially.
Yeah, I have not gotten anything on those committees.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Is there a waste management meeting coming up? The annual?
I am getting it ready.
Okay.
Carter, yeah, that's what I'll be doing, and,
I'm not representing for here, just for the city, but yeah,
yeah. Are you the representative for
For
the
the-
city?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, what I do is city clerks, I communicate with them,
Yep.
just go directly with our. Yeah, that was, CP Patterson.
Yep.
Was the representative. Other than that, I don't have any other. I guess I'm going on vacation tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. I don't think that I'm gonna have any internet, but, I'll be putting on. a Email reply, automatic reply. But I will have my cell phone.
Kossuth Waste Management Association delegate is Jack Talent and alternative is Josh.
And Jack's out for the next few weeks, so if that comes up.
Oh, it's going to be,
It'll be.
it'll be a few
Yeah.
weeks, cause I have to.
Okay,
I have to
okay.
put notice out, public notice, get an agenda, gotta make sure that I don't fill with any council meeting
Right,
or
right.
emergency management meetings or that kind of thing, so I gotta get a date that, but it'll be 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
15-minute break.
Thanks, guys.
Let's,
You're welcome.
yeah, maybe even shorter, cause we got 2 engineers here waiting for us.
They waited a long time already.
Right.
I'm good at waiting. Do you think for the report filing projection would be helpful, or, I mean, I can set up, if not, just go over it?
Why don't you set it up?
Yeah, it wouldn't
Just
hurt.
for the sake of newer board members, I don't know how
Sometimes
fluent in drainage you all are, but.
pictures are nice.
Learning.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we'll say we're in the learning
We're in
process.
Well, and with
They'll
that,
be there for a little bit.
talk more, but, from the filing of this report, it's at least 40 days until the hearing can be had.
For notification.
For notification purposes. So in that time, anything that we don't cover here or that you'd like more information on, I'd like to extend the offer to stop up to the office at any time if we should.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can
of course.
discuss and go over that stuff. Just some Tuesday when you're,
Probably not today. 'cause
well, right, yeah.
we got plenty to do, and then, are you going down tonight?
No, I'm not going today. We're going out in the morning.
Okay.
Going in the morning?
Yeah.
I can't go to bed early and wake up that early, so I have a hard time.
I wake up at 5:30 every morning anyway.
Oh, yeah,
And so, I mean, it don't start till 8:30.
you wanna be there probably.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, if I leave at 5:30,
I got a little more of a drive to the north even.
yeah.
Got an extra 40 minutes?
I'm gonna call my potential zoning.
There you go.
Hey, morning. Carter, yeah. Hey, we're just on break here in the boardroom. Well, somebody has to go to the bathroom, so. Yeah, but yeah. No, I mentioned I asked Doug if he needed another person on the zoning and planning and zoning committee. And he said, yeah, they're supposed to have 5 on each on that and the board of adjustment, but there's only 3 on the planning and zoning. And they have to have 3, so if somebody can't make it or something, it's nice to have somebody else, so. If one person doesn't show up, so. So that's, I mean, so if you're interested, it's there, if not, it's okay, but you want me to ask, so, yep, there it is. I really don't know, I guess, do you want me to go ask him? Or? Okay. Okay, no, that sounds good. So. Yeah. No, I didn't know, I didn't hear that, but.
All right,
Good, yourself?
Ed,
Okay.
some really frosty roads.
Guys, do without, I fought it for last winter where it was like, didn't hardly do anything.
Oh, okay, yep.
Like the drought conditions extend through the winter and then they were hell.
That's done, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, yep. All right. Yeah, well, there you go. Yep, you bet. Like, yeah,
Introduce myself.
Yeah.
Ivan Dressler with ISG.
Okay,
I'm from our Storm Lake office.
okay,
And here, I just hoping to get an opportunity to introduce myself.
yeah,
And then also to talk about that petition that you guys got coming up to today
yep,
to Drainage District 129. We work also, our firm, our home office is in Cato.
yep,
And this DD 129 outlets to Drainage District or County Ditch 41 in Faribault County, Minnesota. And we're the engineer for Faribault County.
okay,
Stuff, so we just want to express our interest on the petition.
Sure.
Also, let you know that we do have experience across the line.
Sure.
That our county.
yep. No,
And Carter, you're from,
I live in Laverne,
okay,
southeast here, so.
sure.
Yep.
I'm originally from
Background?
Bancroft.
Okay, I wondered what the last name address was.
Yeah. So actually, our farm was right between Lakota and Bancroft.
Okay. I gave piano lessons to a couple Dressler kids.
Oh,
Caden, you know Jeff? Jeff Dressler.
oh, yeah,
That'd be Jeff's kids.
okay, sure.
Um,
Jeff is, his dad, Richard, was, first cousin.
Okay,
So Jeff would be a second cousin.
yeah,
So,
but, no, good, so appreciate you coming up.
you from Laverne, but you, how were you given lessons to?
Well, I used to teach out at the music store here in town.
Oh,
When, actually, when I was in high school, I
Okay.
did that, and that's when I did that, and then they moved to Johnston, is where they live now, I believe.
okay.
So that's how that ended, but I no longer teaching, but just got to the other things. But I stopped teaching actually this past May.
Okay,
But,
so what are you currently?
well, I always have, since high school, I've run, my business, Carter Piano Service. I'm a piano tuner and repairman for
I see.
North Iowa, Southern Minnesota,
Okay,
and then I help farm Yeah. That's it.
Sure.
So it keeps me busy enough.
Plenty of irons in the fire then.
I'm married, so my wife wants to see me now and then too. But
Yeah, and just don't run into piano, people that often. And
yeah, well, I'm the only, well, when I started, there was a guy, well, there's 2 and 4 Dodge. And the guy I took over for here in Algona, and Armstrong, and Spencer, and Storm Lake, and a couple in Sioux City, and they're all gone.
I'm gonna say.
And in the last 8 years, they've all just either retired or died, and so I am the only full-time guy in Northwest Iowa. So, yeah, it's, I would welcome another technician, but trying to find one is the hard part. So,
Yeah.
it just kind of fell into, I mean, I wasn't looking for it, it just, I've always played and I'm our church organist. I did competitions in high school. I thought it'd be fun to learn one year and here I am, so, yeah.
You gotta have a good ear for it.
Yep. Yep, but I gotta go, nothing comes back quick, I'll be back up. Thank you.
So what's new with you, Tyler?
Oh, not, keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
I saw you guys did, you guys placed in trivia the last,
We won.
you won, that's right, isn't
Yeah.
it? Well, that's placing, I thought I was right.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's fun. I had a good time there. That's my nephew is Matt Stein. I don't know if you know Matt or not. And then his dad is my brother-in-law. So Matt and his wife Ashley, and her last name was Miller, no relation. But her maiden name is Miller, and then Phil and Julie Stein, and myself and my daughter Amanda, that's made up our team, so it was called, it's Miller Stein, isn't it? It's Miller Stein.
Yeah, I like that. It's a fun thing that they.
Oh, it's kind of, yeah, I've never been to one.
I go to the dog park quite a bit. And
Okay.
so, me and a group of people there got in on it last year.
Okay,
Rolled over it,
Yeah.
into this year. It's good to see it be popular.
oh man, that's, I was really surprised by the amount of people, and, I mean, it's just I drank a beer. Had fun with the questions, had fun with people there. Sometimes I don't like going to the public, to be honest with you, because someone walks up to me and goes, oh, it's or gotta go out and do that, yeah, or they give me their opinion about how good a job I'm doing or not doing or something like that, so
Yeah.
it's rare. I just don't go out there.
No, they do a good job with that. The Christmas songs category, 8 was live.
Oh, yeah.
That's just, oh.
Boy,
we-
Ashley, I got one of them, but Ashley, she was our designated person for recording. She wrote down all the answers. And between her and my daughter and Julie, they got them all. She was writing down faster than we could even say.
Our team is not well composed as far as like a broad.
That's where I mean, Ashley is a great school teacher.
Mm.
So like the first question for like young school,
Just right
she,
in the wheelhouse.
yeah, and my daughter had a couple of things there. Yes.
I just stopped down there. Crouch, coach, all know that.
Oh,
I just called him, he says,
Steve is a member of the Board of Adjustment.
right,
He'd be interested in,
he said he'd be interested, but he wasn't sure what it all entailed. He said he's gonna stop and talk to you,
okay, yeah.
but that's who.
Yes.
I just talked, to him. He said he'd know, like, well, I suppose if he willing to do the job, I'm not gonna speak.
In fact, he was elected chairman. of the-
That's what he says, that's against my wishes. But I hear you volunteer for that.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk to Steve or you can call me.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep. And also, he just informed me, John,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was,
Yeah.
that was nice.
Hey, with Don.
Yeah,
That was my thing.
Don,
I know.
Young 60. I don't think he's 65 yet. Do you know him? I do, yeah.
Did you get introduced to Ivan out in the hall there?
Roger, did you hear me? Or Don Reefer
Yes.
passed away this morning from a heart attack.
Don Reed?
What?
Really?
Like,
Oh,
but. Oh.
the one who does all our spraying.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That just happened this morning.
That's what, when I was talking to Stricker on the phone there. Well, he said, yeah, so,
He's
That's not good.
cause he's in, I don't know how old Don is. He's 60.
he wasn't all that old, so.
No, he'd be 60.
Probably in the
Probably
ballpark.
Yeah.
Cause his wife passed away just not that long ago.
Yeah, she
had
passed
cancer.
cancer. Yeah. Yep, I remember that.
That's probably only been 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think, 2.5, somewhere around there.
Cause Ruth, Bill, you know Bill Lindgren?
Yeah.
Well, Bill and Don were in business together. And Ruth owns half the business now, but all of Ruth's ground is what Steve and Andy farm. So that's what he said, she texted him this morning. And, just,
Sorry to hear about your grandma.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I got kicked out of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd been coming a while, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll give your.
Doesn't make it
grandpa a break.
easier.
No.
Yeah, it's taking a toll on her.
Sad break.
Yeah.
I know.
Nothing good about that.
No. Anyway,
March is coming.
Marge is coming.
Yeah. I don't know if they're- don't forget.
Well, you guys think we're gonna get snowed in Des Moines?
Snowed in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they supposed to get a bunch of snow?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
6 inches.
so you're on a WK?
No,
No,
You're going down tonight. You
no,
go.
he's for 60 sub 4.
Marge is gonna explain WK to us.
I read a little bit about that in the packet
know.
and stuff, but yeah, I was gonna ask her a little bit more.
I was just wondering why Scott had
Your people are down right there.
Yeah, you got several items.
on that area.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm here on the first one on the agenda.
on sub DD 60 sub 4,
DD 60 sub 4.
that drain is no good.
I have seen.
I have been up there numerous times and
It's
The
not,
only-
it's not no good, it's just not very
it's
good.
just no good. The only option there is to put a pump in, a lift station.
We'll get into that, but I think,
Well, they
Tyler's.
they shouldn't really put county tile on top of the ground and then put a pump over
No,
it.
no, that's, you're wrong
Oh, I'm
district
on
there.
129.
That's 129.
DD 60 isn't much better.
no, it's
Six-
pretty rough too.
Oh, that's terrible.
What we're
That's right.
Yeah,
fortunate
129 is bad.
is from what I can tell, the ditch was over excavated enough that there are some opportunities there. So,
Is there?
yeah, we'll get into that. We'll wait for March to.
But those two drains. If you've never seen 129, it's worth looking at it, how it goes into Minnesota.
Yeah,
It's the only drain I ever seen where they didn't have to dig to put the tile in.
Just roll it off the
Yeah.
wagons, just sit on there.
Yeah, they put a hump on it.
Yeah, right.
there's
Some-
places.
some
that
flags,
They actually put dirt on top of it to cover it. It's very, very shallow.
Okay.
Some flags to warn you that it's there.
Speed
Yeah.
bump.
Yeah,
Speed
slow down when you go over this.
Don't drive over this with heavy equipment.
And then they did anyway. so.
They do, and you-
No, he's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Sometimes you get the change of a landowner in places and that's.
Oh, I didn't know that was there.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah,
That looks expensive.
Well, it's failing on the Iowa side in many places as well.
yeah.
We just
well,
picked another spot here this last fall.
Well, that's all we have to do is fix that one.
Yeah, it's a bad system.
We will start with drainage.
Tyler, you're up.
And we have Marge Mergen on DD 60 first, or don't we?
Tyler's
Well,
he's here for 60.
He is. It says Marge in here.
Marge knows everything.
Class.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just the person that contacted me.
really.
Marge knows everything.
Marge knows all about DD 60.
I put in the request.
If not, I'd happily present my point.
Are you gonna do it for Marge?
As long as she allows, yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, well, good morning all. I'm Tyler Conley with Bolton and Mink here in Algona. Filing the report on Drainage District 60, sub 4. This is a petition that was filed to investigate a main tile improvement project. For reference, the main tile on the map up here is from this location here, following generally this line to the end of the main tile.
Who filed the petition?
The petition was,
Kyle Rolling was the start of it, and there was a lot of signatures.
yeah, I have a copy of it here. I can pass around. It was Kyle Rolling, like Kyle said, that got it started, but there is a number of signatures on there.
The report's in your board folder.
There was an informational meeting held on this in the latter half of last year, where owners were contacted to come in and weigh their opinions on some probable projects. There was a lot of support at that time to move forward with investigating the main tile improvement at 3 different cost points. This district is located in Grant and Eagle Township. there is the main tile system, 7 lateral branches, 4 sublateral networks. All of the tiles flow to the main open ditch of Drainage District 60. The district was petitioned for and established between 1911 and 1913. There were some tile repair requests through the 40s. There was a cleaning of the open ditch in the 60s. And actually, interestingly enough, there was a petition for a main tile improvement in 1965 on the district that no action was taken on due to the proposed expense at that time. Since then, there's been no major work done to the system. A capacity analysis of the system was conducted. It was found that the drainage district, the main tile is, as we find in a lot of these districts, undersized by today's drainage standards. The capacity of districts is measured in a drainage coefficient, and that is the amount of water in inches that can be removed in a 24-hour period of time. The majority of the main tile of sub 4 currently is at or below 0.15 inches per day. The current drainage standard is what's recommended for areas with good surface relief is a 1/2 inch per day. So you're looking at about 30% or less of the current designed, current recommended design capacities. Because this is an improvement project, there will be some additional nuances to consider. The first is that any upstream wetlands that are in the district will likely be considered converted. Now, one thing that came in a little later than what the report was finalized at, we did send out wetland determination letters on the district. We had not heard anything back until after the report was finalized, but I did receive from the Goriskowski, I believe that's how it's pronounced, a series of wetland determinations that were certified from the NRCS for whether or not there were wetlands in the area. If you want to pass that around, the green is outlining all the area that they have that was considered prior converted. There were no wetlands in any of the determinations that were submitted. Now, it's not all of the district, as you can see when you get the map, but it is a decent portion, and some of the areas I was the most concerned about were shown up as prior converted. Second, for an improvement project that is different from a repair, repairs on drainage districts are mandatory. When the trustees are convinced that there are needed repairs, those are, the code says you shall repair, not that you can or may consider it. For an improvement project, there's differences. Those are not mandatory, and they can be stopped by, one of the ways they can be stopped is by a process that's known as remonstrance. That is, if at the hearing, at or before the close of the hearing, the landowners object, and in total, those objections, it's a majority, over 50% by number of landowners, and in aggregate, they own 70% of the acres. That stops a project from continuing, if it is an improvement project. So that is something that on these improvements is very important to take into consideration, and I have a spreadsheet that at the time of the hearing, as objections, if objections come in, they can be added and tabulated for remonstrance. And third is that improvement projects trigger reclassification. Reclassification would be the redistribution of the benefits based on the new project that is installed. This is to account for any inequities that a new system brings about, as well as it's a good opportunity to solve additional inequities, one of which is considered the largest is every facility not having its own schedule. And at this time, I believe in the district, there is only the 60 sub 4 schedule. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marge. For this, currently as it stands, which would mean that even if a project isn't done, work that's done anywhere on the system, everyone pays for it, whether or not they benefit from those laterals or not.
Which is not the way the code currently reads.
What's that?
That the code specifies the benefits should be.
Right, if a
distributed.
reclassification is done, it's fine to sit as it is, but as they're done, as you benefit from different facilities, you should pay for them as that benefit.
Yeah.
Arises. So, one of that all works together to say the current state from court cases that have been fought on annexation and remonstrance and on reclassification, they have, where it sits right now is that those that have the right of remonstrance are those that are in the district to be benefited. So on this map here, that would mean all of the lands, the dotted boundary is the current assessment schedule. Those are the lands that are in the district currently. The green outline is what the original boundary was drawn on the original plat and then digitized by the Iowa DNR. The red boundary is an assessment of the watershed that we did as a preliminary for the capacity analysis, and also to see how close that would resemble to the original boundary. All that to say that any of these lands that would be benefiting from the system but are outside of the current assessment boundary, unless they were to be annexed in prior to the consideration of remonstrance, it would be my recommendation that they be notified that the work would be occurring, but they would not have the rights of objection and to be tallied amongst the remonstrance acres. Just something to keep in mind on a project like that. If work is to be done, there would be consideration for any sort of crop damages, compaction, all things that would be settled at the time of completion. There are cost estimates included in the report. There was a At the informational meeting, there was a request to review the half-inch drainage coefficient, the 3/4 inch drainage coefficient, and the 1 inch drainage coefficient. So in those orders, for the half-inch drainage coefficient, or the tile sizes required, the largest being a 54 inch.
So that's 72.
The estimate was $3,300,000 for construction. The non-construction costs, as well as any of the road crossings that occur, are the payment of such is the responsibility of the secondary roads department. That is not an accessible cost to the drainage district. So those are broken out, but they are not added to the totals. With the non-construction for the half-inch, you're looking at just over 370, or $3,700,000. Or on the per acre, looking at $1,466. That's a per acre cost. In a reclassification, the only thing I can tell you with any certainty is it would be very rare for anyone to pay actually that amount for their actual assessment. The classification and reclassification all takes into account the varying degrees of benefit and alters what that per acre cost is for those that benefit more and those that benefit less. For the 3/4, it was just shy of, for construction, just shy of $4 million, $3,986,000. With the non-construction costs, looking at $4,440,000. And then for the 1 inch, with the largest tile size being a 72 inch, you're looking at $4,760,000. With the non-construction of $5.25 million. Those were the cost estimates on that. With that in mind, with the range of tile sizes that would be required as part of my report with the recommendations, I recommend that landowners and the trustees consider the half-inch and the 3/4 inch. I think the 1 inch in this instance is excessive.
And we'll talk about that more at the hearing, of course.
Right, yes. Also in the report, we have the farm program compliance. That is dealing with the conversion of upstream wetlands. We have sent a wetland determination letter to all the landowners. As I passed that map around, we received one back for a decent portion of the district, but not all of it. If it is determined that any upstream wetlands have been converted as a side effect of an improvement project, the penalties can be severe to that landowner unless mitigation work is done to replace the form and functionality of those wetlands, or if the wetlands are left unfarmed. The converted wetlands are left unfarmed. The current price of the Iowa Agricultural Mitigation Bank is $15,000 an acre for credits for wetland mitigation. Again, that doesn't, what's that?
Is there any?
It doesn't, not to date. I have not been
I
informed of
haven't
any.
heard of any
I have not.
acres.
There's all fire converted I've seen, and nothing else has been brought to my attention.
Yeah.
So that's from the landowners compliance. And it's important that they let us know that so that if there are any, there can be consideration for district participation in the mitigation of those wetlands. As far as from the district's compliance, as of the 30th of December 2022, the EPA had again revised its waters of the US definitions. Now, in very simple terms, considering jurisdictional wetlands, anything that has shallow connections, essentially, anything.
Subsurface.
Any shallow subsurface conveyance is being considered adjoining and therefore jurisdictional. That since 2015 had been the waters of the US had a stay on it. That new ruling after the publication would take effect 60 days from the publication date, or right around March 1st, the earliest in March. There are different considerations that come with that. Essentially, if it is to stay in place and not be challenged or not be changed, any project, really any project, would require joint applications to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for their permitting and approval. One of the biggest potential hurdles there is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, their policy of avoidance and minimization. So, in essence, making a district prove that what it wants to do is more of a requirement rather than just an enhancement, a willing enhancement of the facilities. So the potential options there are to wait to see how this new rule impacts the projects of this magnitude. Wait to see if it is challenged, which in my opinion, it is almost a certainty that it would, very similar to the 2015 ruling, or to begin the proper paperwork of compliance right from the beginning. With the 40 days of required notice, or the 40 days from filing with the 20 days of prior notice, that would put this hearing at the 28th of February, correct? March, so it would be very, very close to the implementation of those new rules. Things to keep in mind as this goes to hearing, and we'll see how that plays out with the new rules. We also include in here more for the landowners, a water quality section for their potential buy-in. There's a lot of funding going around right now for different practices. It's not anything the district really has any obligation or powers to implement currently, but it's always something we feel is very important for landowners to consider. So with that, I went very fast.
Good
through
question
that.
for you.
Go ahead.
That dredge ditch has no flow. The water just sets in it a lot of the time. So are you gonna put this tile outletting in the bottom of that?
And actually, I can go to the preliminary plans. It appears from our survey data that at some point in the past, that ditch was rather significantly over excavated.
But is it over excavated all the way? So that
Well, and that,
appears,
It was recently cleaned out, that
Right.
mile where this dumps in, that was cleaned out. I'd say approximately a year ago, so. There may be potential for more repair work downstream from that if it's needed, but I've not gotten a request to that effect yet, so.
we reviewed
We
the
would have
first,
to handle
the
that.
first mile downstream. From our. Looking at our different options, it's a little. On this, the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 inch would be. About 6 inches up off the bottom, the 1 inch would be right at the bottom. And even that, it's kind of tight up in the upper sections. That was why my recommendation for consideration left out the 1 inch tile, but these are the 3 sizes stacked right on top of each other here.
so then you end up with at least 3 foot of cover all the way.
Yes. Even on the, I shouldn't say, I think the 1 inch has at the very least 2.5 feet. But again, for its price and the amount that you'd have to
That's
kind
that's
of sneak it in. Now,
that's a lot of
this
money.
also isn't final design. This is preliminary as far as the ability to, is it feasible? Yes, all of them are feasible. Obviously, it would, this would go through the final design process. One of the biggest potential changes I see is, the essentially the S curve in this that crosses the secondary roads department quite a few times.
Yeah, there'd be 3 crossings within.
I think that
Quarter
could be, I think that could be straightened out and things could be just as adequately served with smaller branch lines. Not having that significant a cost crossing expense to the secondary roads department. Something that I would definitely have to discuss with Doug as far as the involvement there, but that's just, for instance, that's one of the things that's that would be looked at. There are other areas that are low lying that you could probably, they were originally because it was all hand dug or manually dug in, and now you could more easily with equipment, get it in deeper areas that are just to the side of those low spots, so. But as it all sits, as it all is right now, it is all feasible, it would all work.
Well, some of that old tile isn't very deep in them ponds.
No, it's,
I mean, it's toe kickers.
yeah, oh, yes, yeah, it's, but with the up sizes and a little bit of decreased grades, you are able to get your appropriate cover.
We have no grade on some of it.
Yeah, no, I know, the lower end, that's why you're at the 54 and the 60 and the 72 inch, because it's at it's 0.06.
0.10,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
0.08.
it's under, it's under a tenth for sure in locations. So
I've seen some under a tenth. That's really no grade.
right, yeah, no, I agree, that's why you see the sizes that the
0.30. Oof.
there, and the district does slope up as it goes, but.
Mhm. Just the challenge of the territory.
Yep.
Well, for today, it's acknowledging the report and setting time and date for hearing, right?
Yes, and, that's where I was going with that, with the 40 days before the hearing could be had, with, newer board members acting as their roles as trustees here, I wanted to formally extend an invitation for any additional questions or any more background information on this district or the other, at least the other one that we're working towards completion here in the spring. Anytime, feel free to stop up at our office here in town. Be happy to go through information and all that with really anybody, newer members, the older members. I know Kyle and Roger have stopped in from time to time too, so it's no burden at all that way. Happy to do it. But yes, today is just a tentative acceptance and setting a date and time for the public hearing.
You were talking February 28th for that?
Yes, Marge and I had emailed about that being feasible.
Yeah, I think that would work good with the WOTUS rule as well. We'd probably have some sort of idea by then. So
Probably not.
Well,
if
Yeah.
it's gonna be challenged, we would probably know about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, it's gonna be challenging.
well, yeah,
We know
that
that.
almost with certainty. It's
Yeah, I know it's gonna be challenged, but
You won't have,
Yeah,
you won't have a say for that. The last time it was challenged, it was in 2015 and it never really did see the conclusions.
Yep.
yeah. So I would entertain a motion to accept the report and schedule a official hearing for February 28th.
So moved. Time, you want 10 or what would you guys have in mind? 10?
I didn't have a particular time, anytime that day works for me.
I'd say 10.
10 o'clock?
Location, you think we'd be okay to have it here?
The informational meeting worked fine
Yeah.
in this, I think.
Yeah,
I think-
10 in the boardroom on the 28th.
I have a motion for DD 60 sub 4 at 10 o'clock on February 28th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Wacker? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I'd appreciate it if you take a peek a little further on in that dredge ditch to make sure
Yes.
that your flow lines are actually gonna work
Yeah, for further than that,
further than
mile.
that 1 mile
I,
that's just been cleaned.
I'm now thankful for the rain. I will go out and, see how.
I think you could just look at it now and,
Oh, yeah. I think just with the weather we've had, it's gonna tell me all I need to know if I.
right,
go-
But
if
I wanna do that before Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, that's
Hopefully,
a
hopefully
today,
there's
that's a
little-
today.
Today
time.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is or not.
well,
Other
you'll
towns are
be
probably
able to see if
frozen.
there's water setting and then all of a sudden nothing but weeds.
Yeah,
And it might just need some more clean out,
Yeah.
cause I have a feeling the rest of it probably needs attention.
I just don't wanna put a
put a new Cadillac.
$3 million tile in and then not have it work.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, put a nice new Cadillac up on the upper end of something.
Yeah.
That it can't pass.
Right. Then that makes us look like we're not very intelligent.
I don't want that for anybody. You guys, me, anybody. Yes.
Marge, or you got all the wrote down, how about 129? We have a petition in front of us.
you want me to talk on that or you want March to?
Yeah, well, Jeff's been at this for a long time.
Yeah, so I've known Jeff for quite a while, but he had gotten contacted by Dustin Anderson from Faribault County. They reached out to me in March as well here this fall going into the winter. And they are looking at repairs on the Minnesota side initially. But we do not have an agreement for the tile system on 129. We have an agreement for the ditch that it dumps into eventually. But In conversations with Jeff primarily, but I know he knows his neighbors and friends around the area that way. He said they would be more so entertaining an improvement project. They would settle for a repair if it was the complete line, if it was on Minnesota and Iowa side, because a repair on the Minnesota side alone does not do them benefit. They're having constant issues on the Iowa side. So, in regards to that, he had asked like what steps would need to be taken, and I said the petition form would be the start of the paperwork, so to speak. But we could use that to appoint an engineer and kind of get the ball rolling in that regard. So he had sent over signed petition and some comments in email there that he sent to share with everyone. So that's all in the packet. You can see the petition is signed by a couple people that way. So, I guess,
So what's his plan, or what's the plan on the Minnesota side? Cause that tile's just junk.
so that's gonna be a substantial conversation, but we'll need to work with them to see what options are available and how to proceed through them. I know right now they're leaning towards a repair, but part of that hinges on whether we're participating in that. So,
If we do a repair in Minnesota, do we have to put a filter strip on both sides of that dredge ditch, or is there one by now?
I don't know, that would be something on their side. And I was gonna get to it, but Spencer had called me the other day as well and
And
visited.
we'd have to pay for buying land on both sides of the dredge ditch in Minnesota.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Minnesota does have requirements for buffers along all their open ditch facilities. This is it is a tile system that continues all the way down to the current county ditch 41. 41 was cleaned out in 2018 and 2019. They finished in that timeframe. We are the engineer that's been working with Faribault County up there on their drainage projects. If it's an improvement and initiate it from the Minnesota side of things, you will have to be following it on the improvement aspect. What is the current requirements up in Minnesota? They will have regulations from the state side of things in regard to no increase in peak flows if it's on an improvement side of a project. However, this is outlined into an open ditch that was not improved. So the drainage authority is going to have the ability to do some negotiations in regard to if they have to limit any of the flow aspects, especially because a large portion of the watershed is in Iowa. So Minnesota can't force you to do things in Iowa, but at the same time, you can't do improvements all the way down to 41 without doing joint work with the Minnesota Drainage Authority in Faribault County. It's a tile system, so there's no buffer strip aspect that you would be looking at in regard to the improvement of the tile system. But this is going to be one of those situations where, you know, you have an outlet agreement that I believe that you are being charged, 129 is being charged a certain dollar amount for the open ditch of.
Just for the
41.
ditch, yeah.
Yeah. This would take, basically, you're gonna have to operate, or to move this forward, you're gonna have to have basically a joint board type discussion between the Drainage Authority, Faribault and Iowa, your board. obviously, and,
And I've already had some conversations with Dustin about that.
okay.
Yep.
And in, you know, a little bit of the history on this 129 too was, Jacobs or McClure did a study back in 2012 on it. Obviously, it has a very limited capacity. Obviously, your knowledge on it, Kyle, that there's been a lot of repairs that have been necessary.
Yep.
Shallow tile system. So one of the, you know, major things here is going to basically do I would recommend that you do a preliminary engineering study and bring in the discussions between Minnesota and Iowa together to lay out what Minnesota is going to require from their side of things. And definitely, it looks like if they're going to do any kind of improvement on the Minnesota side, you must be evaluating the whole system. And, you know, obviously it's lacking in capacity, it's basically shallow and cover, and you're gonna need to do a full, in a sense, evaluation of the system for an improvement. There is what they call an east, and you have what's called the east and the west main, but the west main outlets into the east main before it goes to the open ditch. Since we had done the 41 project, I do have an overall plat that gives you, for visual purposes, it gives you the ability to see what's all in this. I can leave one here for Jack also and stuff, but so my intent today was to basically pass on some information on the Minnesota side of things. Obviously, I did have the opportunity to introduce myself to Joshua and Carter. You know, this facility is located between Mankato and, you know, here. We have our staff in Mankato we have a very large water resources staff in our Mankato office. We have water resource staff obviously serving this area from Storm Lake. That's where I'm from again, is the Storm Lake office. Spencer, you know, had talked to Kyle yesterday to give him some background of what we know on the Minnesota side of things here on this facility.
They're gonna have to have viewers like every other project.
Yes, that would be one of the things that would have to be discussed if they're gonna require a viewer, cost benefit ratio, analysis, to do the improvement across. It is possible that they would allow, if there's no assessments from 129 going to be occurring in Minnesota, that, in other words, 129 is paying for the improvement all the way down to the open ditch, but not assessing any cost back to lands in Minnesota, that you could avoid the viewer situation.
I don't think we would set it up that way. I've had a couple conversations with Dustin, and I don't know if it's appropriate to really get into all those details right now.
Sure.
But I think a lot of it would be, and I don't even know if I'd say we should have like a engineer's survey on the initial thing right away. I think a lot of it is getting our initial basis of some conversation and getting a game plan going forward, and then coming up with a path that way. I think there's a lot of options on the table, but we need to evaluate what process would work the best for everyone.
And that I'm full agreement, because, you know, you need to really have, we could act as the facilitator from both Minnesota and Iowa side here of those communications with the Faribault Board, and obviously yourselves, to basically get an evaluation of what's available and what they're gonna require from the Minnesota side of things. Yeah.
If you change the design in Minnesota, in other words, the route, is that possible to do?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they would consider that if there was a better route for the tile system, you know, that could be evaluated.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that need to be worked on yet and
Sure.
go through the process, but
So what
And
you're,
Well, the other thing would be is, as Tyler had mentioned, is the Lotus rules. You know, obviously that aspect, that's gonna play a part also with what taking place over here in the next year and seeing if that is gonna affect that. Most in minute, if the Lotus rule change goes as it is, Minnesota definitely will not be accepting NRCS wetland determinations under for those determinations. Iowa, most likely. We don't know if the Corps will continue to accept NRCS's determinations. They have been passed, but that may also change. So, yes, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this. We again are expressing our interest to continue to work with you over here also. And we know that you do distribute your work between firms, and we want to express our knowledge on the Minnesota side here.
yep, and I appreciate that, and I was going to share what Spencer had said, but since you were here, that kind of fulfilled that anyway. As I had discussed with him on the other project, which we currently have in construction right now on 60/1, McClure is engineer on that. And with all of our negotiations with Minnesota back and forth that way, it was definitely a struggle having a company that was not located here working on that. And I think there's potentials to do things a little differently and do things better on another project like this. But I visited with Tyler about this because of the potential that I knew this was coming up. And I guess if he wants to speak to anything, you're more than welcome, but with their offices in Minnesota and stuff as well, I think the landowners would appreciate having the ability to come visit with the engineer one-on-one in Algona. That was definitely an issue that was brought up to me by landowners on 60 is the north end of the county doesn't get to Algona as much as the middle or the southern third, obviously, but most people in this county come to Algona at some point in time, regularly or semi-regularly. And I think there's a large advantage for us as board members, specifically myself, and the landowners of the district to be able to come down here and visit with someone in the office that's working on the project here in town. So my recommendation would be to appoint Bolton and Mink on this. We've got great relationship with them on multiple projects, some that are in the works, some that have been completed. And I think this one, especially with the Minnesota components, that will be a challenge. I would feel more comfortable that direction. So I guess I would make a motion to appoint Bolton and Mink as engineer on 129.
so a little more clarity, what do you want? You want them to move ahead and do an engineering study? A little more clarity on what you want your motion to be.
I don't know that we should have more specifics on that this time. I mean, I think that can be handled with
Do you want
communication and.
informational meetings or with Minnesota?
Yeah, I would say we'll have to have informational meetings. I would say possibly even actual public hearings, but I think we need to start with a lot of conversation up front. So I think
So,
just a general appointment and then handle that as the situation.
so they're not gonna do a study is what I'm getting at.
No, I think that would probably be in the works, but there's steps in front of that.
Kind of wanted in a motion so that we know what you're expecting out of.
Well, the petitioners are expecting a report. That's what they're asking for, but I think prior to the report coming, there's groundwork that can be laid to do a better job and have a
Well-
better finished product.
I think, you're relying on outletting into Minnesota, so we have some work to do before we do a report and spend a lot of money,
We-
is my point.
We definitely do, and I would completely agree with that, but I don't know that you can clarify that in a motion right now.
Well, I think,
Because if you get things working together, it would make sense to continue and
Would it be best to make a motion for our participation in the preliminary and beginning conversations, and from the decisions made there, work towards completing an engineer's report?
well, and that's where I don't know how you'd want it written because the petition requires an engineer to be appointed, so it would have to get to a report at some phase. Unless we cancel that out, but I don't want to send, irregardless of the firm, I wouldn't want to send someone to just go do a bunch of studies because there's work that should be done before that to do it justice.
I would recommend that you just state it as a preliminary engineer's report to do an evaluation with both Minnesota and Iowa.
I think so. Do an evaluation, and then the report can come after that.
Yeah, that'd be fine for language.
Okay, say that again.
We'll do an evaluation on,
A preliminary engineer's report.
right, on DD 129 to see if it's feasible to continue the two-state drainage situation.
Well,
All of that.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd put all that in the motion because, I mean, the water's already going into Minnesota. It's not like we have a lot of options the other direction.
We just put 2 Bolton to make us engineer for
Preliminary.
DD. No, as engineer for DD 129 tile improvement to a preliminary engineer's report.
Yeah, I would think that'd be good.
Do I have a second, Mr. Decker's motion?
I'll second.
Wagner. Any more discussion on it?
I speak to the fact that as you have worked with us before, you obviously Storm Lake, we are within 80 miles from there. This facility is going to be within an hour from the Mankato side of things. And you obviously know that we are willing to travel over here to meet with any given landowner on the issue. You will have ISG involved from Minnesota side of things because Faribault County will require basically an engineer from that side, and that will, I guess, give you the assurance that it will be ISG that will be working from the Minnesota side of things here. To me, it'd be better to have one firm to facilitate this from both sides because we got the expertise on both sides.
My question is, are we going to spend more money by having two engineer firms? That was my question too. Instead of just one.
Tyler, do you want to speak to some of your
We
firm
have
abilities that
we
way?
have-
Because
Minnesota drainage experts as well, and we in talks with Kyle. Minnesota County had indicated that they were well aware of us. We're not strangers in Minnesota. And they would certainly have a choice up there as well. Ultimately, in any of these appointments, it comes down to your comfort level and who you think best fits the situation. Obviously, I'd be bad at my job if I didn't, if I didn't say that we were also interested in this, And, certainly not looking to, I wouldn't be here and advocate for it if I thought that it was going to put anyone in a bad situation or receive subpar engineering work or anything like that, so.
Well, I haven't been here very long and I don't know, I haven't been able to work with you guys much, but just from the standpoint, that still didn't quite answer the question as far as how, will it be more costly?
No,
Being that Ivan will most likely, and our ISG, I should say, will most likely be representing the Minnesota side of things. Would, I'm not that you were bad at your
No,
job.
I
you were
don't
bad at
see
your job
it.
or anything.
No, I don't see it.
Carter, I think I can answer that a little better. There's substantial differences on the Minnesota versus Iowa side as at the county level on what they're prepared to do. Minnesota has more technical staff, so a lot of the things that they don't have the full ability to do quite what ISG and Bolton and Mink do for the top level of engineering. But maybe the simplest way to describe it would be the support staff under the engineers. They have those people employed at the county level already. So Faribault County has already done study work and that sort of stuff, so to speak, on their side already. And they don't have an engineer on it right now. So they could choose ISG, they could choose Bolton and Mink. That's up to their decision. But regardless of that, I don't know that any additional expense would be incurred, because once it gets to that point, they've already got a majority of the work done. And from my conversations with Dustin after that, it would be, especially on the improvement side, if we go down the repair side, I don't know if they need an engineer at all. They might need for the final signature or something. I'm not crystal clear on that procedure, but I think a lot of the work that we have done on the Iowa side by engineers is actually encompassed by their county employees anyway. So I don't think there'd be additional costs. And it might even be a benefit to have different firms, because like on 4 Lat 11, we had McClure on that, but with the private landowner that wanted to change the ditch, we had them get a second opinion to verify that things were up to par and kosher that way. So I don't think having two sets of eyes looking at it is a bad position to be in.
My only question is if Minnesota doesn't agree, and are you gonna have 129 Iowa farmers pay for the whole improvement?
No.
So it won't happen unless
And that's
129 in Minnesota wants to do it.
Well, that's where I think there's a lot of conversations and there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be dealt with before you get to full report and all that sort of stuff. I think but for our side's benefit, the conversations that they're looking to have in Minnesota that involve details that their county staff handles regularly is more than our county staff handles regularly. So that's where I feel it'd be beneficial to have an engineer involved for our side a lot earlier than their side, because the conversations are substantially different.
I'll ask, we've been through all this before with 129, so I'm a little apprehensive about spending a lot of money and then not doing it like we've done before.
Correct,
So
and
having
now
two
that,
engineer firms turn bills in, I'm a little apprehensive about it, but
well, we've already paid McClure and gotten
not to.
nowhere.
Right.
So that's part of the reason for a change as well, but
Well, it wasn't because McClure's did a bad job, it's because the farmers didn't want to do it, and we couldn't gain anything in Minnesota at that time, and they wouldn't let us change it.
and now we have, requests from Minnesota.
It was Minnesota last time that threw a monkey wrench in it, not Iowa. So-
Yeah, so I think
So
there's.
don't blame the
potential for a lot
engineer.
of- Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's all their fault, but
Well, a fact is fact, though.
but it's gonna be more complicated than any standard project in Iowa. The border adds a significant level of involvement to it, and we've seen that on 60 sub 1. And that's where I feel more comfortable with Bolton and Mink with the closer geography we have that way for us and landowners.
In past history, it only took me 7 years to get the dredge ditch clean through the Elmore Golf Course.
It's tough. It's tough up there.
Yep. It was a battle. So
Mhm.
how you start it, let's make sure we start it right. So that's your motion.
Yep.
You wanna read the motion back, Mark? Or
Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy's got it.
To appoint Bolton and Mink as engineer for TD 129 tile improvement and to complete a preliminary engineer's
thank you. Did we have a second on it by Mr.
report.
Wacker?
Yep.
I remember. Any more discussion? Hearing done, do a roll call vote, please.
Knapp,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks.
No. Thank you, guys.
Thank you both for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Before, I'll see you on the 28th. I will get, notice information to you, March, for that, hearing on that.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Ivan.
Yes, thank you.
Are you head down to that drainage conference yet today? Or you not?
Spencer is down there,
Yeah, that's what he had told me about.
yeah. So, I will. And I'll just, give new members a couple cards here, so that you do have a contact information. Just one with you. Myself.
Thank you.
And then I will, Spencer Peck is also out of our Storm Lake office and would be involved with drainage over here.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have Winnebago County is controlling county for joint drain WK 68-136, and they found inequities in the second road parcels. Do you know any more about that, Marge, other than that?
That's what they
They,
sent to us and requested that we, make, have a motion to reclassify, they'll take care of it. With, Jacob said Westergaard will not have any additional costs, they'll do this, it was just saying the formality.
Yeah, I did see that in there that they'll reclassify, no additional cost, same commission.
It's the same commissioners that they did before, so we appoint. And
you've been-
you and that did it before.
so can we, make that all in one motion?
Yeah.
I am assuming, so we'll have a motion to have Jacobson Westergaard do the reclassification on JDWK 68-136.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Stecker,
I'll second.
second by Nat. Any discussion?
Doug,
And to a
did-
point.
Doug, did you have something?
I'm curious, is this Kossuth County secondary roads or Winnebago?
Winnebago.
The city, there's some towns that they had, and they were the hard surface and they applied it all to their secondary road in Winnebago County.
So
But
this
they're-
has nothing to do with Kossuth County.
But they will look at Kossuth County Secondary Road also to see if there's any inequities, but
Okay,
We don't have a whole lot.
no.
Yeah, it's
Doug,
all-
we don't have a lot of roads on that.
it's just rural
There's
areas.
just an open ditch and then there's a main tile.
yeah, but I mean, all of our secondary roads in that drainage district are assessed.
Right.
They're all portions.
So I would imagine they'll review them to make sure they're accurate, but there may not be any changes.
Well, I guess that's my question is this is brought up because they found some irregularities in Winnebago. County.
Correct,
It's not
correct.
Yeah.
Kossuth County.
Correct, yep.
Okay. Very good.
I have a motion on the floor to approve reclassifying,
and we're going.
and we'll
Yep.
appoint Kenny Euban. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Next, we are to request return DD 165 to supervisors as trustees. I have a letter here signed by the current trustees. And that should be sufficient. We will be the trustees by default, but we still need a motion.
And is that, do we need to clarify that this is going in the record or anything, or just that we're accepting their letter? How do you want that?
We'll accept their letter and take over as trustees for 165.
Okay.
That's what I think would clarify it, Marge. I would make the motion to accept their letter and take over as trustees for 165,
I'll
and
second.
then have that filed in the drainage record.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimous.
Should I have voted no since it's in my area?
Yeah. I think you should have.
Oh, missed an opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, well. Let's see. We are up to Kossuth County Auditor. Everybody run off, wage agreement, secondary roads one.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
Okay, who on here is on the EMS board?
Yeah.
Can I meet with you after the meeting?
Yes.
I've got information about the EMS study, from other auditors and state auditor's office.
Good.
Then I just got an email this morning from Barb Smith from the city of Algona. She is wondering if any of you would be interested in meeting with House of Representatives Stone and Wills and Senator Rowley about the property tax reform bill that's currently in the House Ways and Means Committee on March 18th.
Yeah, because I've been.
Are they gonna have a public forum here, or is that just a meeting with us?
She says she's trying to get some time before or after their public forum to meet with the three of us. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be at that.
I've been talking.
Okay, so-
Goof,
So,
I mean, just. I
You
don't,
guys interested or?
March 18th, right?
March.
Yeah, I'll be there.
you're gonna put it on the agenda then.
And I will probably
What time?
discuss with them before that.
she hasn't set a time. Just wondering if you guys would be interested. So we'll see, I'll put it on there for now, it's tentative. She must have that date. 'Cause that's a Saturday.
Well, that's the
No,
days
that
the
would-
legislators
that's
usually wanna meet,
That would be correct.
yeah.
And I know I talked to one of them and they mentioned the forum, and I don't remember if that's the date or not. I'd have to look back.
Sure.
But it probably
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're usually Fridays or Saturdays.
I think they're almost always on Saturday.
Mostly Saturday, yeah. I know they've done some other places on Friday.
Sure.
And then, I got notified that we have a request for a special election. It's from North Kossuth schools, which Emmett County will be the control county. So I'm probably gonna request that they they do that election for us as well, so, that's the simpler way for them and for us to do it, so
The only polling place would be in Swayze.
they, well, in our county,
Oh, not that.
I don't know, cause Bancroft would be, so they might have to have Bancroft too.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll have to,
You'll have to look at that.
For reorganization.
no, it's a Pebble, I think,
Oh,
Okay,
but I haven't read it out, so.
Okay.
Um,
they might have two locations,
Well, Bancroft's part of it.
I think, yeah.
I'll, do that.
Sure they are.
Reading that and working on that this next week, so this week. As well, and that's all.
Sounds like fun.
Anything for next week?
How was vacation?
Yeah.
Should stayed on vacation.
Yeah, he came back to this.
Yeah, you came back to this. I don't know.
I know, next week at 9 o'clock, we're gonna meet with Carissa and business owners about the parking at the old UBC building.
Yeah.
And 10 o'clock, we'll be meeting with Roger Fisher and Reg Sandy about courthouse security. And then the 25th, negotiation.
You got 25th, we're gonna do negotiations. You're gonna put that on the calendar out there.
It's already up.
Good.
So,
Carter, do you have anything?
I guess with Tammy, is there a way to get on a list of when my boards and committee meetings are?
I have no idea, I have no contact with them,
Oh.
supervisors have never given me any
Oh,
of that
okay,
information.
okay.
So have.
I was just told I would receive an email. Okay, so
So
do I need to get in touch with them then?
I don't know how that works,
I don't-
because I don't have any
Okay.
information on it.
Really doesn't go through Tammy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Cause usually they notify you
Sure.
and until I'll visit with you after.
The
Okay.
Are they gonna notify our personal emails or county emails?
county,
Count.
Okay, cause I saw somewhere I had my personal email was listed as a contact.
Well, it might have been before you took
Yeah.
office.
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
Because
we
that's
all
the
had
only
that
email
4 years ago
before
too.
office.
Back up to the 25th, you said that's when that bargaining is happening?
Correct.
I thought we had said 1 PM on Tuesday, and
Well,
then that
that was
Wednesday was
the
going to be a backup date.
And it was a
That's-
backup date that Renee chose.
Yep.
Okay,
Even though I
so
wasn't here, I was just told that.
Yeah,
she did say that that is the definite date.
And we were told that Tuesday was not set in stone. It was just a potential date, but it might be that Wednesday as well, so.
That's
Yeah,
what she said on the phone.
Yeah.
yep, so
Yep.
it's either that Tuesday or that Wednesday. We don't know for sure yet.
It's Wednesday.
I
It
was
is
told it's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay,
And Doug said
Okay.
Wednesday.
That's what Doug
Yeah,
said.
okay,
too.
I didn't, yeah,
So Tuesday is not, no meeting on Tuesday
meeting.
afternoon.
okay.
Um,
That was at 11 AM, right?
1 o'clock.
One.
Oh, they changed it to 1
1
o'clock,
o'clock,
okay.
yep. The only thing I had was, received a call from a gentleman on South Minnesota Street. That is concerned about during the race season. He didn't know if he should get on the agenda, talk or what, but I said, well, I bring it up. As far as parking during the races, there are a number of the races where they'll park on either side of the road, both sides, even when they put the little no parking stakes out, people would still run over them and park there.
Mhm.
And so by doing that, he has trouble, for one, getting out of his property, and two, after talking to Mitch Ulrich, his fire chief, that, I mean, it's a safety concern too. I mean, if they would need a
It's a
fire truck or an ambulance or anything to go down there, it's. But
It's a
this,
city issue, not county.
but it is not city limits. And that's the issue.
What streets are you talking?
This is South Minnesota, like where the grandstands are,
Oh, way back there.
way back there's this row of houses.
Yeah,
Yep.
but some of that isn't a county street either.
But the county does maintain it
Right,
and
but
moves
it's
snow
not
on it.
a-
I think it's one side of the street is county and the other side is city. Because that's part, my district runs down, our district line split on that road.
I did not even realize they were in my district.
Yeah,
Yeah, some of that, I don't know if anybody claims it.
Yeah, I think we've had that discussion.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something we need to figure out.
We don't claim part of that.
okay.
Who is in charge of that? Because, I mean, it is a safety concern during that time and for him, we shouldn't be obstructing the property owners there either for coming and going. So I don't know.
You're probably gonna have to have the police put tickets on them,
Sure.
cause we have no jurisdiction where
Right,
we tell
right.
people where to park on a street or a street that.
But if you look at the, city limit layer, well, that's one of the layers on our map and everything. But that road would be the edge of city limits,
Mhm.
so it's probably, I mean,
The west side would be outside and the east side would be inside,
Yeah,
correct?
potentially, but when we do shared jurisdiction that way with Minnesota, like on gravel roads or pavements, we'll take care of a certain section and then they take care of a certain section, so you're not doubling up on
Yeah.
duties that way, you just divide it out.
Yep.
So we might have to have a conversation with the city and either figure out who's taking care of what or come up with some sort of a game plan there, because
Just,
that
yeah.
probably should be addressed.
He said he'd been working with Galen on it and
Yeah,
And that's-
just because we do
now
the
it's
snow
called
removal
me.
doesn't mean that.
Well, we should be doing snow removal on our roads, but
Yeah,
so I guess we need to look into that somehow. I don't,
I could make a contact, I got.
you wanna do that?
contact in there, yeah,
Go for
from
it.
city council, so.
and the other thing, you should probably talk to the fair.
The fair board, yeah,
And
That
this
was-
guy said he did not wanna raise a stink to the fair board or like he was complaining about the races or anything like that, you know.
But I think it's the fair
It's-
board has some
Yeah.
authority
Yeah.
over.
well,
Yeah.
they might be able to help and do some stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know that they wouldn't have authority.
We wouldn't be
outside
able to
the
enforce
gates.
anything, so some,
Well, who puts the signs up to don't park? It is
police, I think.
dude,
Yeah, I think that's city cop,
yeah.
City cop?
I believe.
Well, then,
He said he talked to the city police and they said it's a county issue, and then he talked to Roger Fisher and he said it's the city's problem, so. I don't.
Same problem.
Yeah.
No one wants to take ownership.
So we might need to figure that out,
At some point in time, someone's gotta take ownership of it.
so.
I'll check into that.
He was just getting the
Yeah.
conversation started before the summer came along.
Yeah.
so.
Nice.
That's fine.
Good plan to.
So anyway, that's all I had, so.
Josh, did you have anything?
We attended, Kyle and I attended the economic development lunch, just kind of a networking thing, but some good things were discussed about, where we should be looking for, potential, bringing businesses into the county kind of things. What type of industries we should be looking for based on our labor force and things like that. So, I mean, it was a good meeting. Got a lot of good information from it, so other than that, there really wasn't a lot for me.
Con?
This, and to add on to that, at that meeting, there was,
Sure. you can-
Yeah.
there was a study done by a group associated with you and I don't have the name in front of me here. Gotta bring those papers, but, it did look at, workforce, and based on that, that shows kind of some possibilities of what industries or what businesses would be potentially enticed to come here because of having available workforce, so. I saw a lot of connections between being on workforce board and that already, and that was good, but yeah, definitely. Beginning stages of those conversations and, just good information.
They had hired, it was, wasn't it you and I? To do a study, I believe it
Yeah.
was, to do a study on,
I think there is some name for the group though, too. but-
Yeah, it was part of you and I know that much, that they did a study, with all the businesses and things like that, figured out, what workforce we have, the primary amount of our labor that live in the county, and what would cause them to move to a new job, things like that, that they kind of put all into that study, so.
Good. Tuesday night, we had a meeting on the ambulance service. And we got our preliminary budget done, so Phil's gonna bring it in. And then Friday, Phil and I met with a hospital. And we talked to them about the ambulance service. We're gonna try and work together, and they're gonna see if they can fund a little bit of it too for a year.
Yeah,
to get
because
it
they were
started.
helping like, was it 100,000 or something?
Yeah.
That's about what it's came out to, yeah.
Yep,
So they're gonna continue for at least the first part of the year so that we can get this ball rolling and
Yeah.
get started. So
Should
that
be a
we-
longer term than that.
Yeah, well, we're gonna work on it. And, that was 2 meetings, and then we're gonna work on the bylaws for the EMS. And I went to North Iowa Regional Transportation Board. And we looked at some things about what we're spending money on in the county and the city of Algona on roads. And also went to the hazmat meeting. The North Central Regional Emergency Planning District Committee meeting in Mason City.
the mouthful.
And that was on hazmat, and a lot of it was on getting grants and filling out grants.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make a suggestion that who's ever on emergency management also be on the regional district planning committee, because they hold the meetings the same day, so
Oh, really?
you just as well make one trip to Mason City instead of 2. So I just stayed and went to both of the meetings, which worked out fine, and I didn't know anything about it until she didn't send the email out until 4:30, and we had the meeting the next day. And, what other meeting? That was about it. Oh, we have a drainage meeting. Can't think of any other meetings I went to last week. It seems like I was to a meeting every day, but just about.
That time of year,
Yeah.
nothing better to do but have meetings. Too
No,
cold out for
there is.
anything else.
I was meetinged out last week.
Well, the 3 of us will be at ISAC too,
Mhm.
Mhm.
one Thursday.
Yep,
Anything else to come before the good of Kossuth County?
Phil just sent an email with a press release about EMS. So, Tammy, does any of your information contradict what we had talked about as far as the timeline?
It
Doesn't-
might contradict everything.
Well, that would probably be important to go over before this gets sent out then.
I will meet with you afterward. I wanna talk